Oh, yeah! You know what time it is. That's right, it's time for the Eddie and Webby Podcast! Yo, I'ma bust out some theme song action for you. Check it out. The Eddie and Webby Show is fun for all. We drink craft beer and mostly talk about pickleball. So if you didn't know, now you know. 'Cause it's time for the Eddie and Webby Show.
On today's episode, Eddie and Webby get reacquainted with each other. This is the Eddie and Webby Podcast.
No. Don't worry. We did not quit doing the podcast. We just took the summer off. That's all. Okay, gotta go. Bye. Oh, hey, how's it going? This is Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, and this is our 88th podcast.
Oh, yeah. After taking pretty much the entire summer off, we are finally back with a brand new episode, number 88.
That's right. It's been a few months, but I'm excited because we're coming back with a wonderful topical conversation tonight with two guests that we've both had on the show before. And I'm excited. And guys, we're live. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. And we're live on Twitch. And this is meant to be interactive. So if you have any questions or comments, please throw them in the chat below. And when Webby's having the conversation, I'll be able to bring those up. Right, Webby?
That is correct. Yeah, this is going to be a very fun episode. It's going to be a different one for us. I feel like this is the first time we've really done like a topic-based episode, but I think it's going to be an interesting one, so should be fun.
That's right. Now, Webby, you got to pick. Do we want to talk about what's going on Twitter, or do we want to crack a drink first, or do we want to wait to crack the drink? How are we going to do all this?
I think we should wait to crack the drink until we have the guests, and let's do Twitter.
All right. Well, guys, it's been months, which means we've had millions of Twitter comments lined up, and we picked the three best for you. So, Webby, I want to know, the world wants to know, what in the heck is going on with Twitter?
Oh, man. I think millions is an understatement. There were so many. In fact, I didn't even choose them. I decided to pick the three most recent ones. So let's just see what random tweets we have here. Here is one from Lob Ross at Eddie and Webby. Congrats on beating Jay DeVilliers in the 2-versus-1 match at the Beer City Open. You must be so proud of yourselves, even though he played left-handed the whole time. ... I mean, I was very proud of us, but I feel like the ... kind of makes that maybe a backhanded compliment a little bit there, but
yeah, Lob, you try and take him on left-handed. He's still pretty
right?
decent with his left hand.
Yeah, it was not easy. A left-handed Jay DeVilliers is still way better than most other people regularly playing pickleball.
Agreed.
But man, that was awesome, and everybody should just stay tuned because we're going to have highlights from that match very soon on our channel because we're finally editing the vlog footage from the Beer City Open from two months ago.
Yeah, no big
deal.
But
we're getting there, okay? We're getting there. We just took the summer off. We're getting back in the swing of things. Yeah. But let's do another Twitter comment here. Here's one from Kim Kardashian. Wow, Eddie and Webby are doing a new episode of their podcast. I thought their show got canceled months ago.
Is she saying she hoped it got canceled, or she thought? I couldn't tell. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Either way, it's a very valid thought. We haven't done the show in quite a while. I'm sure other people maybe thought we got canceled, but no, we are not canceled.
No,
we are back in action, better than ever, and we're not going anywhere. So
that's right.
Get used to it. All right, let's do one more Twitter comment. Here's one from Teddy Murphy. Eddie and Webby, Ben Johns and Rob Nunnery just started doing a pickleball podcast, and it already has way more followers than the podcast you guys have been doing for years. Time to give it up, guys. Come on.
Is that true? Do they have more followers than us already?
I wouldn't doubt it. I would have to fact check that to see, but I wouldn't doubt it. They do have a really good podcast, not going to lie. So if you guys ever want to listen to another podcast after listening to ours, look up The Freestyle Boys with Ben Johns and Rob Nunnery, and I do not think you'll be disappointed. It's very fun.
It's fun, but if you don't appreciate like editing or like a polished product, theirs is perfect for you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like we're raw dogging it. We're live.
No, I'm saying theirs. They don't. They just like turn on the mics and just start talking.
Oh, Yeah, theirs is
which is
basically
kind of
live.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Theirs is basically live. They just don't post it until like a week or two after they record it. But I mean, basically,
Right.
they do no editing whatsoever. So it's
No.
it's very similar to a live podcast. I love it though. It's very fun.
Yeah.
It's a great one. So definitely check it out.
I agree. It's good.
But yeah, that's it for Twitter for today.
Awesome. What are we doing next then?
I think it's time to get our guests on here. I think they've been waiting long enough, unless you had something else to get to, but I think this is a good time to bring the guests on. What do you think?
Do it.
All right. Today's guests are both pickleball legends who are very talented pickleball players and have been very influential in helping pickleball become what it is today. In fact, one of them is a Pickleball Hall of Famer, and the other has been a board member in the Pickleball Hall of Fame since its inception. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show Steve Paranto and Wes Gabrielsen. How's it going, guys?
Great. Thanks for having us again.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you for being here. This is actually your third time on the show for both of you. In case anybody isn't aware, the last time we had you guys on the podcast was back in January, and it was to discuss the history of the Pickleball Hall of Fame and Seymour Rifkin's journey across the country on his bicycle to raise money for the Pickleball Hall of Fame and the building. That was a super fun episode and a very special one for me. I had a great time doing that one. What kind of fun stuff have you guys been up to since then, since back in January? Anything you guys want to share with us? Wes, anything fun and exciting since January in your life?
I'll go first. Yeah. So finished up my 13th year of teaching school and then made a decision as pickleball has been booming here. I was granted a sabbatical, so I'm actually not teaching school this year or coaching, but I am teaching pickleball on a full-time basis for a year to see how that goes. And then that's going to free up some opportunities to play more pro tournaments throughout the year, which is something I've never done before. I've always been kind of a half year warrior on the courts. And so one of the first things I got to do was actually teach with my fellow guest here, Steve Paranto, in North Carolina, in the western mountains of North Carolina, the Suncoast Pickleball Camp last week, and we had an absolute blast. So a lot of changes for me, and I'm enjoying it so far.
Nice, man. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. That's a big life change there, but sounds like a good one. So yeah, very cool. What about you, Steve? What have you been up to since we last talked in January?
Well, a lot of playing pickleball, a few camps. I had a blast with Wes and the gang last week in North Carolina. We had such a great group of campers, 64 campers we taught, along with 6 other teachers. Great coaches, great experience. A few weeks before that, I taught a Rise camp with Rob Davidson. That's his camps he runs, and we got to actually teach on Bainbridge Island where the sport was invented, and even visit the original court one of the evenings and play with some old wooden paddles and an old Kosum ball. So that's my first time actually playing on the original court.
Oh, nice. Very cool. So how is it on that court? Like, is it kind of old and dilapidated, or is it still holding up, or what's it like there?
Well, I think it's holding up just like it looked back then. It's probably the worst court I've ever played on in my life, but it's the great part about it is they're keeping the history. They're keeping the court just as is. And yeah, we would serve and aim for roots on the court to try to hit the roots so the ball would bounce through. You didn't even, and what some of our pros could do the Zane serve, but you might as well. It's easier to hit a root and make it jump than do the Zane serve. So.
Nice. That's cool though. Like I would gladly play there. Like that's definitely a bucket list thing. I would love to be able to play in the spot where it was originated. No matter how crazy and the condition of the court is. That's very, very cool.
Right.
So before we get into the main topic of discussion this evening, I do have a very important question that I need to ask you guys, and I'll start with you, Steve. The world is dying to know, what will you be drinking tonight?
So if you might remember, I brew my own beer, and I have a IPA right here that I brewed. And this, it always turns out slightly different every time, even if you have the same ingredients when you're a home brewer. This one, just very, very tasty. Again, homebrew. I've been home brewing for 35 years. So great hobby. my pickleball friends love it because when we come to my house, I've got 3 or 4 beers on tap, and they can usually choose between an IPA, an amber, or a porter.
Nice. That sounds delicious. I love
So,
IPAs.
can't wait to have stuff right now. Is this when I pretend this is my first beer of the day?
Oh yeah, like we're all just now cracking our very first of the day. Obviously. Nice. So what about you? What about you, Wes? What are you sipping on tonight?
Well, I'm not having a Paranto home brew, and as Steve says, I'm a athlete in training here. It's a little early. It's a little early for me, so I have a wonderful cup of Stash green tea that's going to get me energized to talk about our topic today.
Very nice. What about you, Eddie? You drinking anything tonight?
Of course. And by the way, guys, I do want to remind you that if you do have any questions or comments throughout the night, again, please post them below because I would love to share them. But I'm actually going to be drinking another Fruit Smash Tropical Punch. I've already had too many, apparently, from our friends over at New Belgium while I'm repping my New Belgium wristband that Irina had given to me at Tournament of Champions. I've drank this plenty of times before, and I wasn't in the mood for beer tonight. I was in the mood for a seltzer, so that's why I'm going with this. And it's always a good time. And I want to thank New Belgium for sending us beer and seltzers and continuing to support pickleball.
For sure. Yeah, I will also be drinking a New Belgium beer. This one is called Triple Belgian Style Ale. I've had this before, and this is a very tasty one. So I'm going to crack this one open. And I want to see, I feel like, Wes, you might appreciate this. Do you have any idea what my bottle opener is? Can you see that? Does that look familiar at all?
It looks like some sort of talon.
That is correct.
But maybe I'm trying to figure out what it's coming from. What is it, a certain animal or
it is this it's to scale. It's to scale. And it's from a movie. If you haven't seen the movie, you might not really know it, but it's something I'm very proud of, and I absolutely love it. And it's a great bottle opener. But it's a raptor claw from Jurassic Park.
That was my guess. My guess was Jurassic Park.
Yes, I love that. It's like one of my prized possessions. That bottle opener, I absolutely love it. It's the one that Dr. Grant used and like pretended to cut open a kid's belly to scare him. Gotta love it.
Just to freak him out, right?
Yeah. But cheers, everybody. This is going to be a very interesting night. Interesting conversation here. But
cheers.
Yeah, is Steve still there, or did we lose Steve, or we just
we lost Steve for a minute, but I think he's coming back here very shortly. So I figured we could kick things off here and actually,
okay. I don't know what happened, guys. Did you hear me swearing?
No, I cut you just in time, I guess.
Oh, good. Yeah, the 6-second delay, that's a good thing to have in the radio. Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the main reasons that we wanted to get together tonight is to discuss a pretty hot topic in the world of pickleball. And I'm going to read a little something that was sent to a lot of us on either via email or some of us saw it posted on social media. And it came from the USA Pickleball Hall of Fame. It came from USA Pickleball. And what they announced is that USA Pickleball is going to be creating a Pickleball Hall of Fame. And as people who know who listen to the show, there already is a Pickleball Hall of Fame. We did a whole entire episode devoted to it. It's been around for a number of years. So I am just curious what you guys think about that when you first heard the news that USA Pickleball decided that they're going to start a brand new Pickleball Hall of Fame. We'll start with you, Wes.
Yeah, so a little bit interesting in terms of just my reaction. I thought, oh, this is a bit interesting. You know, as you mentioned at the outset of the episode tonight, I've been fortunate to be involved with the original Pickleball Hall of Fame since its inception. 4 years on the board, and then I've been on the nominating committee ever since. And it's a bit surprising because this decision. Because things have been going so well. I think Steve would agree with me, and I think a vast majority of the pickleball world has been following the Hall of Fame, and I know Steve would agree with me here. I've just been honored to be a part of the process. Integrity first organization that has a really specific process for nominating people. And again, a little disappointed, obviously, I think, in terms of the decision, because I know USAPA early on in our history was a vital partner. We announced, I know when Steve got inducted, he got presented on center court at nationals. So something that we wanted to continue in terms of having the support and of USAPA, but looks like they're trying to go in a different direction.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And when I first heard about it, I was kind of shocked, to be honest. What about you, Steve? Like, what was your first impression when you heard that this was going to happen?
I was shocked also. I mean, I was hoping that this would not continue. Now, I have been on the board since the very beginning also, so I knew of talk of this with USAPA for nearly 2 years and negotiated with them for a good year and a half, not for this not to happen. I kind of want to just talk about the whole timeline of what happened with the Hall of Fame. Back 20 years ago, us players, we would, the sport wasn't near, nothing like it is now. And we would joke about there being a Hall of Fame. Like, oh, someday if there's a Hall of Fame, Mark Friedenberg, you're going to be in it, and we would joke about it. But then the sport boomed, and our history grew and grew, and it became a legitimate subject. And around 2016, Seymour Rifkin wanted this to happen. He's coming from Hall of Fames in gymnastics. He's coached world-class athletes. He knows, he has a big understanding of Hall of Fames. And he approached a lot of us, and he also approached USAPA. USAPA wasn't interested at the time, thought it really wasn't needed. But Seymour really wanted this to go. He headed this, and he had a wide majority or variety of people from the pickleball world form a group and get support, and including people from the USAPA. They at this point, now that he got a lot of the work done, they wanted to also be involved, and they were. In fact, one of our first board members was Jack Thomas, who was at the time the president of the USAPA. So it's kind of one of those things where it takes someone like Seymour to really get things rolling, and all of us just talked about doing it. We didn't do it, but he's a doer and got this group together and got things rolling. If that wouldn't have happened in 2017 was our first year of inductions. So we recognized the inventors of the sport. My dad was fortunate to be recognized as the inventor of the first composite paddle. Sid Williams was recognized. He formed the very first governing body, the first USAPA of pickleball. There are people that aren't alive today that wouldn't have experienced that if the if Hall of Fame hadn't begun in 2017. Sid Williams died a few months later. My dad died a year and a half later. Barney McCallum just recently died. Another one of the inventors. These people wouldn't have experienced what they said was my dad and Sid felt was the greatest day of their life. And it's means a lot to these people inducted. And if we would not have started it then, this wouldn't have happened. So 2017, we had the first inductions. Everything was going great. 2018, 2019, and then in December or January of 2020, we received a letter from USAPA basically thanking us for starting the Hall of Fame, but now they want really to kind of take over the Hall of Fame. And that shows you right there that, because they're saying there's nothing wrong with 2 Hall of Fames. I can tell you they didn't want 2 Hall of Fames either. They wanted to push us out of the way, and we weren't going to do that. Again, a lot of hard work. All the inductees have been so appreciative of everything that's done for them. We care about them first. So when that happened, we negotiated for a year and a half, and we offered them 2 board seats and oversight. And that is pretty good control over our Hall of Fame. It's not complete control, which I believe is what they wanted. But remember, we aren't individuals with complete control either. Our Hall of Fame is made up of all USAPA members in the first place. We're all USAPA members from all over the world of pickleball. But if USAPA joined us and only had 2 board seats, they couldn't have 100% control. And I believe that that's why they're doing this. Then it was about 8 months ago, all of us inductees received a letter saying that from USAPA that they're going to start their own Hall of Fame. And as former Hall of Fame members, we would be welcomed into their Hall of Fame, and that they would give us a golden ticket. And for all of you that don't know what a golden ticket is, that's what everybody's been working so hard in the last year or two to go to nationals, to make sure you're in nationals. So we would all get a golden ticket, even if we didn't earn one. And remember, a lot of these players, they're working their butts off to try to get a golden ticket, and they're also spending lots of money to get a golden ticket, because they may have to play 6 or 7 regionals before they earn one, if they do earn one. So we were offered a golden ticket plus lifetime membership to USAPA, or now it's USA Pickleball. Now, some people take that as a bribery.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why people would take it that way.
Yeah. And so that's where we're at now. We're hoping that they would reconsider and listen to the pickleball community. The vast majority of the pickleball community doesn't want USAPA to have a duplicate Hall of Fame, which is basically, if you read what they're planning on recognizing players and contributors. Well, that's what we did. They may have little nuances that are different. They may have a virtual history tour, which they could certainly do with us and help us do that. I don't think USAPA members want a lot of their money going to how much they're spending to do this. We aren't paying anyone. None of us are paid. I have a pretty good feeling that their new CEO that is coming from Hall of Fame experience is being paid money, probably a lot of money.
Yeah.
And why would they need to have a duplicate Hall of Fame, be insensitive to all of us Hall of Fame members? By the way, all 17 Hall of Fame members rejected that offer. And I think that's because they have a lot of integrity, and that's part of the choice. That's part of the selection process, is integrity. And these people have gratitude to the original Hall of Fame. Do you think they're just going to go, oh, well, I'm going to go in this Hall of Fame instead, or a second one? No, they're showing their gratitude to the Pickleball Hall of Fame. We have, you know how hard it is for people like me, my father's in the Hall of Fame, to say no to a loved one who's passed away. And there's been a lot of tears shed on this. So also very insensitive of the board to do what they did, USA Pickleball.
Yeah. Steve, can I jump in
I have
for
a lot
second?
more to say, but that's, yeah.
Yeah, you made wonderful points, and I'm glad. I know it's sad that it came to this point, but I'm glad that you did mention the fact that all 17 inductees unanimously said, together collectively, we're going to refuse this offer. And it says a whole lot when you think about it. If USAPA launches their Hall of Fame, when the families of the 3 inventors of the game are refusing to go in that Hall of Fame. I mean, when you think about most Hall of Fames, year one, it's the inventors, it's the contributors that got the game going. They're not accepting. You've got, and I know we want to mention names of Hall of Famers that are obviously worthy of induction. It's like Earl Hill, I believe, was the second year he was inducted. He created the ambassador program. Webby, we talked about, you're an ambassador, right? With USA Pickleball. And that was so instrumental to the growth of pickleball and helped get things going. And Earl was so deserving of going in, but he's refusing to go in. And this new Hall of Fame was created by an organization that he worked with and for a long time. So that wasn't an easy choice, for people. And Steve, you mentioned about those who are the living relatives of the deceased. And Sid Williams created USA Pickleball. his family's refused it. I mean, it says a lot that these individuals who were affiliated with USA Pickleball for a long time and made a lot of groundbreaking decisions, when they refuse to go in, along with not just these great players like Mark Friedenberg, Billy Jacobson, Dan Gabinik, but they're also people of extremely high integrity. And that says a lot about their decision. You know, it says a lot about their decision. And so I guess when I look at it too, and this may be something you're going to talk about later, Webby, but when I look at it too, I mean, I'm kind of like a Hall of Fame nerd. When you think about it, we've talked about this before. I can't think of any major sport, and we want to help our sport grow and get to a point where everyone's thinking, when is pickleball in the Olympics, right? So we're going to try to do everything we can to make the sport as reputable and noteworthy as possible. When you look at basketball, when you look at, baseball, when you look at football, those major sport Hall of Fames are not controlled and run by a governing body, right? Independence is so important. And as Steve mentioned, we have so many people on the boards and nominating committees that aren't just players in pickleball. We have senior pros, we got pros, we've got people in business, but they're all different age brackets, and they're from all over the country and different facets of the game. So all these different groups, so to speak, are represented. And that's a big concern for me, is having a governing body in charge when I feel like independence is greatly needed. Again, you think about, just going to mention those sports again. You think about the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. It's not run by the NFL, but they consult with the NFL for the history of it. When you think about Cooperstown in New York, it's not run by Major League Baseball, but it's affiliated with it. And I think that independence has allowed those organizations to be reputable and successful. And I think for me, that's a major issue I have with this announcement, is wanting to have that independence. And as Steve mentioned, and kind of in closing here for me with this point, during the negotiations, Steve was part of it. I was on some phone calls too with USAPA representatives. We want to keep one Hall of Fame because it's what's best for the sport. I think no one would deny that. So those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, and like you said, I am a USA Pickleball ambassador. I have been for the past few years. I've been a very proud member. I definitely think there's a lot of great people part of the organization. They've done a lot of great things for pickleball. But man, it's so hard to totally understand why the decision makers thought that this was a great idea, because I don't see it. I mean, I feel like there's got to be some reason that they have to where they thought it was worth doing, but I personally don't get it. But here on the Eddie and Webby Show, we are all about hearing both sides, and I did put out an open invitation to folks from USA Pickleball. And Eddie, if I'm not mistaken, I think we do have somebody from USA Pickleball that's joining us, so I would like to go over to them right now, if you don't mind. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, everybody. I really thought there was going to be somebody there to chime in and give us some information from the USA Pickleball perspective. I apologize. That was very unprofessional. But we like to have fun. We like to have fun here on the Eddie and Webby Show. But anyways,
that was pretty funny, Webby. Hey, Webby, when you talk about yourself being an ambassador, we talk about Earl Hill, the importance he played, and he played a huge importance in our, at the time that those ambassadors were doing all this stuff, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have social media to spread the word. We needed ambassadors really badly. His daughter Darla is an ambassador, she's in the Idaho area, and she's going to give up her ambassadorship if USA Pickleball continues. And this is the daughter of the Hall of Famer who created the ambassador program.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like that, along with what you said, Wes, about like everybody, like all the current Hall of Fame inductees, they all turned down the offer to be in the new one. I mean, that speaks volumes. If that doesn't get somebody's attention, I don't know what will.
Well, and I think too, I think anyone would agree that over the years, there have been some wonderful things that USA Pickleball has achieved and done for the sport. There's a lot of great people that work as ambassadors like yourself and others as part of the organization to promote pickleball. There's no denying that. But the one thing I think about too, looking down the road, and Steve, we've talked about this too, it's like there's a sense of confusion that will be created if the second Hall of Fame from USA Pickleball continues moving forward. It's like people are going to get asked or told that they're inducted in one Hall of Fame, and oh yeah, you're going in the other one. And that's going to be kind of a weird choice for people thinking about, well, I want to go in one, but what about going in the other? Or should I go in one and not the other? And all that, our main objective with our Hall of Fame, the original Hall of Fame, everyone's Hall of Fame, because remember, an idea that we had from the beginning that I think is unique to a lot of Hall of Fames, anyone in the pickleball world can nominate people. It's not committee members, it's not board members that nominate, it's the public. So anyone that's been inducted into the Pickleball Hall of Fame has been nominated by someone from outside the organization. Those are people that are, Webby, you could nominate someone if you'd like for the Hall of Fame. I know you'd want to nominate Steve, but he's already in there. But anyways, no, when I look at it, that's what's cool about our organization, because other organizations don't have that, right? When you think about it, it's the public that nominates. But I fear the issue of the division that it can cause, because let's think about it, as this sport is moving forward, you have, I would assume, most of the players that are going to go into the Hall of Fame, they're going to be from the pro ranks. And when they're thinking about their livelihood and things, it's important. I mean, it's an honor to be a Hall of Famer, but that's important for people teaching camps and things and such. And so it just creates a lot of confusion down the road for people that are going to have to make a choice, or might be forced like they have to make a choice, if that makes sense.
And, with the 17 people who've all rejected Hall of Fame, and by the way, we'll be inducting 4 more new people in October. We'll talk more about that in the Hall of Fame tournament coming up. But thinking about the 17 people that have rejected, I'm thinking, who's going to say yes if they have for their if USA Pickleball says, okay, such and such, you get to be in the Hall of Fame? I don't know if they would say. I don't know anybody really that would say yes. Are they going to go against the grain of the 17 people? And we're talking the inventors of the sport and the top early players.
Right.
I just don't.
Yeah.
And I will say, what's been really, I don't say this is our Hall of Fame as in like Steve and I and the people affiliated. It's Pickleball's Hall of Fame. I say our, right, meaning everyone. This is our Hall of Fame as a collective people in the sport. It's not a group of us that are on the board or what have you, but it's been so wonderful to see so far on social media and other realms the support that people have been giving to the existing Pickleball Hall of Fame. And again, it's not to Steve or I or Seymour or individuals. It's to the organization, because the organization is about honoring the players and contributors and the history of our sport. We have a petition. I know a lot of people watching have seen that on social media. I think we're up to over 1,500 people so far, the last time I checked, showing support for the existing Hall of Fame. We really appreciate that, everyone watching out there, the support, because it's our Hall of Fame as a collective pickleball community. So thank you for that support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do feel like when we were on social media, there's been an overwhelming amount of support for the original Pickleball Hall of Fame, and pretty much requesting and even some people demanding that USA Pickleball not move ahead with their Pickleball Hall of Fame. But go ahead, Steve. What were you going to say?
Well, I was saying, when this group first formed in late 2016, early 2017, with quite a few people from all over the community of pickleball, well-respected people, we were trying to decide what should the name be. And a couple of the people that were on that were USAPA board members, and they wanted it to be USAPA Pickleball Hall of Fame. They were drastically outvoted because we felt it's not about the USAPA, it's about the sport of pickleball. So it was decided we were going to be the Pickleball Hall of Fame. And for obvious reasons, it's about the sport. It isn't about one organization. And that's what that's what we want now.
And the other thing too that I've noticed just in people's reactions and comments, there's been that primary response of why is there another Pickleball Hall of Fame that's needed when one is functioning and going really well so far, and we want to continue that. But the follow-up comment, and the two of you may have seen this from a lot of people, is there are so many other things that USA Pickleball is working on that deserve immense attention, that people are having thoughts about, concerns, questions, things like ratings, things like rule changes, continuing junior development, because we all want to see more juniors involved. And there's been some great strides so far by the organization to promote junior pickleball. Those are kind of those things that maybe more folks are feeling like USA Pickleball should continue to focus on, as opposed to creating a new endeavor that's a competing, in our mind, it's a competing Hall of Fame. So
yeah, that's another thing that I've seen a lot of people bringing up is like why of all the things for USA Pickleball to focus on, like why this and why now is this being the focus of attention. I feel like that's something that a lot of people are still not very clear on. Yeah, hopefully maybe they'll be able to clear things up in the near future. I do have an email to read from Stu Upson, but before I do that, Eddie, what's going on your end?
Yeah, a couple of things on social media I wanted to bring up. First of all, here we have A. Paul LeBaron II, basically saying that, if I can get it up here, I'm nominating Webby next year. So there you go.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
guys mentioned that, but Hall of Fame eventually, long enough, broadcasters are go into Hall of Fames. I mean, you might have to wait 30 years, like the rest of us have, 30 or 40 years, but broadcasting will be, I'm sure, at some point. I mean, it's going to be down the road because we're in the early stages of broadcasting the sport, but I'm sure Wes could name a few broadcasters that are in various Hall of Fames.
Oh yeah, they've got awards in certain Hall of Fames for broadcasters.
Yeah.
So whoever that pioneering duo
Yeah.
or individual may be, they may be named after them. Again, that's a long ways down the road, and that's for the
Right.
organization to decide. But
I
Yeah, I don't know
it.
about you, Eddie, but when I hear that, I just think, so you're telling me there's a
Yeah.
chance?
There's a chance. I would be honored, but yeah, that's a long time away here. We have a comment from Jennifer Butler, and Jennifer says, it's time for them to apologize. Sorry, we made a big mistake. We only want one Hall of Fame, the existing one.
thanks, Jenny. Steve and I talked with
Jennifer.
Jennifer in North Carolina last week at the camp. She's amazing player, teacher, and a great human. So thank you for the support. And she's doing a lot of great things with juniors in North Carolina, pickleball wise. So thank you for your work there.
There's some good juniors
Nice.
in North Carolina. The Pembertons, I know. Chase, there's quite a few. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for
I got-
tuning in and commenting, Jennifer.
Yeah. I got one more that I wanted to bring up, and this is from our consistent one Twitch follower, and that is Wings Media Guy, a.k.a. Chris Medina. And Chris said, if I were to be asked to be in both Hall of Fames, I'd definitely say yes. What an honor. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys talk about that here.
I'll
Steve,
go first. Because I was asked this. In fact, I have my letter here somewhere where I was asked, but I'll just tell it to you. So again, two Hall of Fames are confusing. Am I going to be the kind of person that shows zero gratitude to the original Hall of Fame that put us in the Hall of Fame? No, and neither are the other people. And I also received the letter for my dad to be in the Hall of Fame, to be in their Hall of Fame. And by the way, my dad had passed away almost 2 years before he received that letter, and they had no idea he was dead. So just, I mean, do your homework
Wow.
on and again, we don't want 2 Hall of Fames. It's confusing, and we all rejected it for that reason. And we all are showing gratitude to the original Pickleball Hall of Fame because we have ethics, we have morals. It would be the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. Wes, did you have something you wanted to add to that or
Well,
respond
I
to?
just think if I were, didn't matter if I was in the original Pickleball Hall of Fame or not. It's one of those things that I think I agree with Steve. In terms of the gratitude part, I would have a hard time saying yes to that invitation, whether I was in the original Hall of Fame or not, because again, it's the gratitude towards the original Hall of Fame. It's confusing. It doesn't make sense to me. And some of the Hall of Famers felt, it's kind of like a slap in the face, that letter and what they got. And again, why reinvent the wheel when something is going well? And like Steven mentioned, during this process of going back and forth with USA Pickleball, our intent was to keep one Hall of Fame and continue to work with USA Pickleball, because from the early stages, they've been, a partner in this, and other paddle companies and organizations have been donors and have been part of the process. So we feel like, again, it's this collective, our Hall of Fame altogether, all facets of pickleball. So I agree with Steve's response about saying no to that offer if it came to me.
Here's a few words in this letter. I just found the letter. If you would like to be included as a former inductee to our Hall of Fame, like our Hall of Fame is going to go away after they have their Hall of Fame, which is what they wanted. And then again, they offered the golden ticket and the what again some people are calling bribery, and that turned us off too. I mean, so frustrating. I just wish the USAPA board would listen to their members at this point, because overwhelmingly, members that are paying the dues, that are paying these salaries. And by the way, these salaries that are involved in starting their Hall of Fame, people are being paid. You don't CEO and not pay them. None of us are paid. We've just been we're passionate about our sport. I'm not sure. I know you're going to read a letter, CEO, probably a nice, wonderful person, but I don't even know if he plays pickleball. I did a lookup. He's not a member of the USA Pickleball. Certainly doesn't have a rating. I'd be interested if he knew how to keep score. And we're playing a sport where passion matters. And when you hire somebody, the head of that's basically running your company, pickleball, and it's all about passion, I would expect it to be a pickleball player, but I don't think that's the case.
Well, yeah, like you said, I do have a letter that came from the CEO of USA Pickleball, Stu Upson. This was sent to the USA Pickleball ambassadors, and he said to feel free to share this with anybody who has questions about the decision to do the Pickleball Hall of Fame, the USA Pickleball Hall of Fame. And what he said in the email is USA Pickleball has a different vision for its Hall of Fame, but the USA Pickleball Hall of Fame and Museum is not intended to replace or compete with the Pickleball Hall of Fame. There are several examples of multiple Halls of Fame coexisting and thriving in the same sport. Why can't we do the same in pickleball? Some have criticized our plan as being divisive, but we see it as expansive, an additional opportunity to help promote the sport and tell its history. We would feel the same way if another pickleball entity wanted to create their own Hall of Fame sometime in the future. We have offered to discuss ways to collaborate with the Pickleball Hall of Fame, and we still would like to do so in spite of the email and social media campaign they have initiated to stir up negative reactions to the USA Pickleball announcement in an apparent attempt to protect their own turf. There shouldn't be any reason why both Halls of Fame can't support each other in the best interests of pickleball. What do you guys, what are your reactions to
We have so
that?
many responses to that. Wes, you go ahead about why, when he talks about more than one Hall of Fame coexisting.
Yeah, I think we've covered the confusion, potential divisiveness part. I also look at, that comment about the social media campaign that was mentioned. I feel like everyone has their own opinion about certain things, but stating facts and what happened, a lot of people reposted what Pickleball Hall of Fame had posted and just shared some of their personal words. I feel like it's getting information out, not necessarily a negative attack on certain things. It's more of, here's the information, here's why there's some concern. And again, I think based on people signing the petition in a short amount of time, how many people have, based on comments and some really eloquent comments by people, and I see where it seems like a majority of the pickleball community is supporting the original Hall of Fame. So obviously, we're doing everything we can to promote our as a pickleball community Hall of Fame, and looking for ways to honor the integrity of the process, because we're all really proud of the democratic process we have in our organization. That's why we're involved. We're, like Steve said, and not to make the point over and over, but this is not a paid position. This is because we love it. It's not for attention. It's not for limelight. It's for honoring the history of our sport that we love. And Steve made that really good point. Our sport is all about passion, whether you're playing, whether you're teaching, whether you're an ambassador. Like Webb, you've got a busy life, I'm sure, but you love the sport and you're trying to promote it because you're passionate about it.
Yep.
So we're going to do everything we can to continue to do things the right way, like we have. And I think if you look at anyone involved in our organization, right, whether they are inductees, whether they're on selection committee, nominating committee, the board, everyone is of high integrity and doing things the right way. It's not an agenda-based, organization, because I think people that know Steve and I well know that we're not going to be part of an organization unless it's ethical and true to our values. And that's what I love about being part of this group, is this organization is about doing things the right way, and we're going to continue to do so.
Speaking to his comment about us being divisive, nothing divisive occurred concerning the Hall of Fame until they attempted to really push us out and start a second Hall of Fame. There is no divisiveness until then. Then when they talk about us shutting them out in negotiations, we did everything possible to get them involved in helping us. If they would really want to work with us and help us, we would love that. If they wanted to create a virtual history tour of pickleball, help us do that. That would be wonderful, because it sounds like that's the only thing different that they have planned. They could easily do that with us. I mean, and the reason we came out with the social media, we had to tell the truth, what occurred, because again, I'm sorry, but they mislead people a lot. They have a bad history of reputation, I should say, of being non-transparent. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but I will. So one of our negotiation meetings, I think, I don't know if Wes was on the phone call with me or not. The very first thing that USAPA said to us, was on the phone call with two other people from USAPA, was they were asking me if the phone call was being recorded. Now, it wasn't, but do you think I would care if it was being recorded? I don't care if anybody hears everything I'm going to say, but they did care. And I would love now, I mean, if that was recorded, I couldn't use it, and I couldn't use it, but there would be nothing I'd be afraid of, but they were afraid. And the first thing they asked me is if this phone call was being recorded. Now, does that sound like being transparent?
Wow. Yeah, that's a very
I'd never
odd thing to ask.
I'd never been on a phone call like that before. And I have a feeling that their past board members that have quit recently because of this, because I think a whole lot of their board members also didn't agree this was a good idea and they quit, they probably I'm sure, were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. Now, Wes, have any of us signed a non-disclosure agreement?
We're
No.
transparent, open about what we do.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
again, it all comes from that our high values and ethics that we bring into what we do. And in terms of, adding to your point, Steve, about wanting USAPA to be involved and help with the existing Hall of Fame, the offer for the 2 board seats is still there. That hasn't been taken back. That's an open-ended invitation from the board,
absolutely,
from the Hall of Fame board, and and the decision that Steve, you and the others that are on the board have given. That's still there. That's been on the table during this whole process. So that hasn't been taken away.
Right.
Yeah, and what you said about the transparency, I do feel like even before the announcement of the second Hall of Fame, I feel like for the last year and a half, that's the biggest complaint that I have heard on social media is the lack of transparency within the organization, and that's definitely unfortunate. But Eddie, what's going on your end?
Yeah, there's a couple good questions that have been raised here, and I just wanted to throw this first one out to you, and this is also from Chris Medina, and he wants to know, would you guys be against other countries starting their own Hall of Fame?
Oh, I want to answer that one.
You go for it, Steve.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course not. That would be wonderful, except in order to start a Hall of Fame, you have to have a history involved in the sport. It's only been 55 years that we had pickleball going in the United States before we created a Hall of Fame. So yes, if Japan, if England wanted to start, absolutely. But I'm sure that they need to establish a history before they have a Hall of Fame. And
yeah,
great. I mean, every country, that's.
Well, I'm sure too, it may get to the point where there's, you think about other sports, there's communities and there's states that have their own Hall of Fame. That's different than a national governing body having a Hall of Fame. If Hillsboro, Oregon, where Steve lives, wanted to have their own Hall of Fame, that's just going to be about Hillsboro. That makes sense. But again, it's not a governing body. And I mentioned that earlier in terms of having independence is vital, in my opinion, because those successful sports Hall of Fames that have the credibility are the ones that are independent from a governing body being organized. Again, I mentioned those sports, football, basketball, baseball, the major sports. They still have a relationship with the governing body and the association, which is what we want. We want that affiliation with USAPA because it's been there. It's been there up until this point. And that's a vital piece because you think about records and archives and things. And Steve, you mentioned the virtual component. Like those are ways to continue to grow the existing Hall of Fame. But I completely agree with Steve's response about other countries. But you got to have the history. Build that history and then go for it, for sure.
Yep.
Great answer, guys. One of the things too that I think you guys have done a great job is expressing your motivations for it, right? And the existing Pickleball Hall of Fame's motivations behind it. And I guess that's kind of been my biggest question is, what is USA Pickleball's main motivation? And there is a comment here from Backhand Roll on YouTube that says, follow the money. Who is the main supporter of this new Hall of Fame? That's the smoking gun. And I'm going to leave it at that. Do you guys think there's anything there? Do you know what the motivations are? Kind of open-ended here for you.
Well, I will say that in order to nominate with the USA, from what I read on their, I think it was either in the magazine or their website, in order to nominate someone, you had to be a member of USA Pickleball, which, they're trying to get as many members, which costs money. And again, let's go back to this. USA Pickleball, would you listen to your members that are paying your dues? Overwhelmingly, they only want one Hall of Fame. They are very happy with the current Hall of Fame, the original Hall of Fame.
Yeah, great point. So actually, I just got word. I do think our contact from USA Pickleball is finally at their desk. Eddie, can we go ahead and cut to the USA Pickleball representative and see what their thoughts are? I am sorry, everybody. This is horrible. I feel I got egg on my face. This is very embarrassing. I really thought somebody was going to be there, but once again, nothing. I apologize. Yeah, let's move along. One thing I do want to bring up is something that was mentioned on the USA Pickleball Hall of Fame website. They said the USA Pickleball Hall of Fame is dedicated to preserving pickleball history. It focuses on two primary objectives. One, the creation and ongoing maintenance of a virtual pickleball historical museum. And two, the recognition and honoring of athletes and contributors that have excelled in their efforts in competition or the advancement of the sport through promotion and leadership. And when I read that, I feel like they could have avoided this whole thing if they focused on number one, the virtual pickleball historical museum. I feel like if that was their intent, to focus on a virtual museum of pickleball artifacts, pickleball facts and history, I think that would have been fine. But to go beyond that and go to number two and create their own Hall of Fame, I don't know, man. I just seems like an unnecessary step that they took. But to try and be devil's advocate a little bit, I have to imagine that the decision makers at USAP, they knew there was going to be a big backlash about doing this, and there had to have been a driving force that made them feel that this was the best course of action to take on their part. But unfortunately, the fact that whatever that reason is hasn't been clearly communicated, I really feel like that's the big thing that people have a problem with, because they keep claiming there's an underlying reason and something that made them want to separate themselves and do a separate Hall of Fame. But unfortunately, because that information hasn't been made readily available or communicated to anybody, maybe I'm sure the board members know, but I'm an ambassador. I have no idea. Any USA Pickleball member has no idea. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's the big problem is if there is this really good reason that they have for trying to make their own Hall of Fame, I feel like it's got to be made known, because as of right now, I don't see any reason why it's happening.
Well, something that's interesting is that during this year, for the existing Pickleball Hall of Fame, there's been announcement and promotion of the fact that there is a physical Hall of Fame that's going to be built in Texas. I don't know if the virtual thing is maybe their response to that. But yeah, I know all of us involved in the organization are really excited about the brick and mortar museum that's going to be built, and the inaugural Hall of Fame championship tournament. There's going to be clinics. There's just a lot of cool things buzzing from the existing organization about this year's class and the development of a brick and mortar museum. So, Steve, I don't know your thoughts, or that may be their response to that. I mean, I don't know.
Well, of course, I would rather visit a brick and mortar Hall of Fame than look on my computer at pictures. It's nice to have extra, to have a virtual Hall of Fame. And Wes, this is a Beatle reference. You can go on the virtual history tour.
Yeah,
Magical mystery tour.
That's right.
I got to help Wes teach a Beatles section, so I had to throw that in. But I mean, a brick and mortar Hall of Fame like we're going to have soon is so important. In fact, it is so important to Sid Williams to have his memorabilia there. His widow is very upset about what's happened because she knows she wants his stuff, and she is the executor of his stuff, that she wants that stuff to be at a brick and mortar, because she knows Sid would like people to touch those paddles, touch the original scorecards, here I even have one right here. Touch the, open up the original rule book that we had in the 80s. all those things in real life, and instead of just seeing it virtually. Virtually adds to it, but again, they could help us, and that could be part of our Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I have no problem with a virtual like museum, like they mentioned. Like to me, that would be pretty cool. It definitely wouldn't beat seeing the things in person, but I think that's a cool feature to have. And like if that's what USA Pickleball wanted to do, like I feel like absolutely nobody would be complaining right now. But the fact that they want to do
don't confuse it with another Pickleball Hall of Fame. It would be a virtual history tour of pickleball. It's not another Hall of Fame, as long as and that could, but it should be part of our Hall of Fame if they really want to help. If they spent 1/10 of the money that they probably spent already to do what they're going to do and help us with a virtual history tour of pickleball, they could, I'm sure, could have went and still could go. Remember, we still are offering them 2 board seats. If that's not enough for them because they want full control, I mean, that's the only thing. That's the only reason I could think that they would say no, is because they want full control over a Hall of Fame, which, again, governing bodies shouldn't have full control over a Hall of Fame.
There should be successful affiliation. There's no denying that. Any major sports Hall of Fame, you want the governing body involved and an affiliate, but not controlling it.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, this has been a great conversation. Before we part ways, Steve, you sent me a bunch of nice pictures. I'd like to go ahead and show some of those and maybe have you kind of just describe what we're seeing on the screen. So, Eddie, if you want to go ahead and show some of those images there. Oh, look at those guys. What do we got here?
Well, that was the night I was inducted in 2019. Wes was kind enough to do my introduction speech, which meant the world to me. Now, and I'm holding that paddle is a very important paddle that will be at the Hall of Fame. That my dad, made the very first composite paddles. He made 2 like that. One's in my house displayed, and that one will be at the Hall of Fame. So that was first composite paddle. My partner Richard Skevington and I were the first to use composite paddles in 1984.
Yeah, that was a great night. It was an honor to be able to induct you.
And this is my dad and his good friend Sid. You guys are gonna make me cry now.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, that's my dad and Sid Williams.
Mm-hmm. Was that at the where was that at, Steve? Because it said CBS.
Well, that was
Sports
the
Network.
day. That was the day before the day of the evening they got inducted. So they're watching finals, and they just can't believe. Yeah. They could not believe how this game had changed. And you were involved in the semi or the final that day too.
I was in the I was in the final. I remember they were, because there was that was the first class, and there was an honor. Each of them went out on the red carpet. I think they had on center court before we played the match. I remember that.
And I see there's a CBS Sports Network sign in the back. Was that one aired on CBS Sports?
Yeah, that was
nice.
So that was at Nationals. Yeah, 2017. Yep, they were broadcasting the finals.
Okay. And Sid passed away about 2 months. Sid passed away suddenly 2 months later. Mm-hmm. So that was a special day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great. Those are the 4 of the living members. Barney was alive also, but Barney got in a traffic accident about 3 days before the induction. And Barney was about 90 years old when he got in a kind of a bad, serious car crash, so he couldn't be there. So that's my dad on the far left. That's Sid next to him, and then that's Mark Friedenberg, Yoda, and then Billy Jacobson. So very important, early important people to the sport of pickleball. Yeah. And there's Dad and Sid. We're playing right here at Dan Gabinek's house, and this is well before they ever knew there was going to be a Hall of Fame or that they would be in the Hall of Fame. And speaking of Dan Gabinek, he was inducted in 2019. I don't think that's him in the background, but
Steve, that's you.
That's Dan.
That's you.
Yeah, that's right. It's me. Okay, I thought I didn't think I was that tall.
Yeah,
that's right. I did. Yeah.
So is that paddle in your dad's hand in that previous shot? Was that the one that's in your house, or is that the one that
Yes.
that is
Yeah,
going to be in the Hall of
that's
Fame?
the ones in my. Yeah, that'll be at the
Okay.
Hall of Fame. We've already. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is so I taught my dad how to play. Everybody thinks since my dad was inducted before me in the Hall of Fame that he taught. Now I taught him how to play pickleball, and we always did all our activities together. If it was fishing, basketball, pool, remote control cars, boat, we did all these hobbies together. Well, when I started pickleball, I taught him, and then he tore out his front yard. We lived on Lake Ohop in Eatonville, Washington. That's our court. And at that house is where he made those paddles. That paddle, that's the original Pro Light. That was probably 1984. I was in my 20s. My dad's in his 50s in that picture.
Wow, that scenery is incredible. You got the water in the background. You got mountains in the background. Wow.
We played pickleball on the lake with the lights on at night. It was. I wish we still had that property. I really miss that. I miss my hometown, and that lake.
Did you lose many pickleballs in the water? Did many
yeah,
end
but
up in the water?
we had a fishing net. We had a long net. Here's my dad and Mark Friedenberg. And so Dad created the Pro Light company, sold it to Mark Candelario, who didn't do it much with it. Mark bought it from him, and then built up Pro Light to a successful company. And now his son Neil runs that company.
Actually, speaking of Pro Light and Neil, Eddie, if you can cut to me for a second. I have this really awesome custom paddle that Neil helped me put together here.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah.
We got Pickleball for Life on one
brilliant.
side, and then on the other side, we got this updated logo here with the beer and the cheers and the paddles. Yeah, I love this thing.
That's
awesome
great.
paddle.
Yeah, they make great. He makes great, great paddles. I was almost
one of the
go
very
do a
few
quick show
companies.
myself.
Oh, nice. One of the very few companies that will do a custom paddle, like with whatever design you have. Like if you have a company logo or an image that you want to put on a paddle, not a lot of companies do that these days, but ProLight does an awesome job doing that.
Yeah, they do. When I used to play with them, they made some custom paddles for me of my college sports team and put the logo on the front. So I always enjoy that. Like you said, they do great work.
Nice. All right, I think we have a few more pictures left. Here we go.
Yeah, there's Billy Jacobson. Again, he was, right now, all you players don't realize you have the luxury of having instructors teach you the game, and you can watch the game on YouTube and get instruction, social media, you can get instruction. Back in the day, you couldn't do that. Billy really created the soft game of pickleball and placement and precision more than any other player in the early days. And he's a big, strong guy, but he realized this game is more about placement than power, and revolutionized the game as a player. So that's.
Oh yeah,
it was
and Steve, outside of that too, there were some rules, ideas, and things that he helped implement as well. But yeah, he was one of the first guys I watched when I started playing. He was such a role model to a lot of us who started out and were trying to figure out this dinking thing.
Right. So that was my evening, and there's Rob Cassidy in the middle, and that's Enrique, my buddy Enrique. He just taught that clinic with us, and back in our early days, I actually coached Enrique. So that was a special night to be inducted on the same. I'm inducted as a contributor, and Enrique was inducted as a great player. And by the way, Rob Cassidy in the middle is now on the rules committee for the USA Pickleball, and I totally expect him to be wonderful at that. He's a great guy. I've got to teach a camp with Rob, and I'm glad. I think that's a good move for the USAPA. So I'm not against everything USAPA does. I'm just totally ridiculous about what they're doing with the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and speaking of Rob Cassidy, I actually reached out to him because I knew he was part of the USA Pickleball Rule Committee, and I wanted to see what his take was on this whole thing. And he gave me a quote that he said I could use on the show, and he said, "While I am associated with USA Pickleball with my role as member of the Rules Committee, I do not support their decision to create a secondary additional Pickleball Hall of Fame. My loyalty is to the game. and their decision to create a separate Hall of Fame at this time does not appear to have the sincere best interests of the game. So I was actually kind of surprised to hear that with him being part of it. No, I'm not super surprised, to be honest, but I mean, little surprised, little not surprised. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
I'm not surprised. Rob is a very intelligent person, understands pickleball, and again, he's a great player who also Rob has always cared about the history of our sport.
yes.
And when he first met me, he came up to me and he was so happy to meet me, and I'm so happy to meet a great player like you. And he treated me with respect when he was a young player, and because he cared about the history. So I'm really happy that he said that.
It doesn't surprise me either. I mean, given all those things that you mentioned about Rob and his sincerity and integrity and desire to continue to preserve the sport in the right way. But just kind of looking through some folks' responses on social media, I mean, we just haven't had ambassadors and people that are 50 and over respond in support of the existing Hall of Fame. But I've seen my contemporary pros make comments in support of the existing Hall of Fame, because I think everyone understands how important the work is and wants to see that continue. So it doesn't surprise me that Rob and other pros are feeling the same way.
Yeah, and Steve, you talked about kind of getting emotional when we first started showing those pictures earlier. I showed Rob the picture that you had sent me of him with you and El Condor, and just to show how passionate Rob is for the sport, like just seeing that picture kind of made him feel emotional, because he said that night was so important to him and so meaningful. So, I mean, just, yeah, Rob Cassidy is such a good ambassador for the sport of pickleball. I think it was a great move on the USA Pickleball's side to have him be part of the rules committee. So I think that's definitely a big win for everybody involved. But yeah, such a great person to be involved in pickleball. Huge fans of Rob Cassidy here on the Eddie and Webby show. But
I agree.
Yeah, Wes, Steve, we can't thank you guys enough for joining us tonight. This is a little bit more serious episode than we've usually done, more topical and stuff. But I think it's a very important show, because it's just, I mean, it's a pretty big deal here, what's going on in the world of pickleball, and I think it's important to hear what people are thinking about it. I was really hoping to find out both sides of the story. Like, I was hoping somebody from USA Pickleball, one of the higher ups, one of the decision makers, would join us tonight. But I know, I mean, at the same time, I understand it might be tough on their end to have somebody come on here. They probably don't want to get into a debate here, especially on a stupid show like the Eddie and Webby show. So, I mean, it's maybe if it was another show, maybe if it was Ben John's show, maybe somebody from USA Pickleball would have showed up. But
I didn't do very well in my college debate class, but I would feel very confident debating them on this, because the facts are with us. I don't know what to say. This is not difficult for us to talk about this, because all the facts are in our favor. I've been involved with this from the beginning until now. I know everything that's occurred. I know how hard we tried to negotiate and be very flexible and have them be part of our Hall of Fame and open 2 board seats. And again, they're still open. And in closing, I just want to say, USA Pickleball, please listen to your paying members and what they want, because the overwhelming amount of people paying the dues to USA Pickleball do not agree with you starting a second Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I would follow that up too with a big thank you to the two of you for letting us come on your show and talk about this, because we are going back to Steve's comments about passion, right? We're passionate about doing the right thing for our sport, and appreciate everyone's support out there, because I've said this already, it's our Hall of Fame as a pickleball community. And Steve, if we had a representative from USA Pickleball on, I don't think we'd debate. I think we'd have an open, honest conversation. I don't think it would be necessarily a debate, which is unfortunate, because we want to hear all, like you said, Webb, we want to hear all sides of everything. And we're just wanting to continue to promote the Hall of Fame that's ours as a pickleball community, and do it the right way, like we have. And we appreciate everyone's support. If you haven't had a chance, folks, remember there's that petition out there to show that support, and continue to support our work and preserving the great history of our sport. So thank you all.
One last thing, you can still register for the Pickleball Hall of Fame tournament at the end of October, and you can still sign up for the clinic, which is a very affordable clinic, and it's going to be taught by Hall of Famers. So wouldn't it be great to have Yoda and Jennifer and Alex and Hillary? I mean, the names go on and on. Jim Hackenberg, who's teaching right now at Montreat, where we taught last week. I'm sure they're loving it. Wouldn't it be great to have that experience to be taught by a Hall of Famer and get to play with Hall of Famers? So just want to put that plug in for that tournament. And that's when we'll be doing the inductions for the next 4 new members for the Hall of Fame.
Where's that tournament?
Nice.
This is at Dreamland. It's a suburb of Austin. I have never been there before, and I forget how many courts that they have there at Dreamland, but it's supposed to be beautiful with the greatest putt golf place you've ever been to, and wineries. And I know my partner Randy Byther, we're the longest running doubles team in the U.S. Been playing since '89 together. He's going to help me teach he's going to help me at my station. By the way, Randy and I just won a 5-0 tournament. That means 5 decades that we have won at the highest level. So Ben Johns, you can tie our record in 2060. So just to let Ben know that.
Nice.
So.
Congrats. That's awesome. That's awesome. Nice. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. This has been an awesome night. I'm very glad you were able to join us, and have a great night.
Thanks.
Thanks
you again. You too.
Wow,
man, that was I know it was a serious episode. It was a lot of serious topics, a lot of serious discussion. But man, I think this episode will go down in Eddie and Webby history as a very memorable one. I think a very important one. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: is that one thing that I loved about tonight is the passion and the raw emotion that's out there, right? And you saw it from both Wes and Steve. They're so passionate about this, and it was great to see. And I'm so disappointed that USA Pickleball didn't have somebody that was going to come on. I know, Webby, you kind of mentioned like, oh, it might be tough for them to come on, but there has been criticism for, like you mentioned, 1.5 years about a lack of transparency. And I think that could be solved by having somebody there to be the face of USA Pickleball, or a couple different people to join in on these conversations, to post to social media, to actually get information out there about the intent and the drive and the desire for a lot of these decisions. Because although I don't think that their desire to have a second Hall of Fame is the right decision, there could be more to the story that we don't know. The problem is we don't know. So USA Pickleball, have somebody be your spokesperson. Have somebody be out in front of this. Be transparent about your decisions. Make it feel like you're actually a governing body and a representative organization that's there to drive the sport forward, instead of a group of guys sitting in a back room making decisions about the future of this sport, when you have people like Steve Paranto, he's been doing it since before we were born. Listen to people like him. Don't just make these decisions and then put it out there and say this is the fact without giving any sort of reason behind it. Have somebody be the face of this. Let's have a conversation and let's represent the sport, so that way the people that are paying members can actually feel like their voice is being heard and that you guys are representing the vast majority of people. Because the way I see it, the vast majority of people do not want this Hall of Fame. And if I was USA Pickleball, I would see that and I would immediately say, you know what? Let's work with them to figure out how we can both come together. Sorry, Webby, I know I soapboxed, but I was listening the whole time to you guys talking, and I was just getting fired up over here. So
yeah, all that built up emotion just kind of had to be unleashed.
Yeah.
I get it. No, but seriously, like I said before, like I feel like there's got to be a driving factor. Like USA Pickleball had to know there was going to be a big backlash about this, and I mean, word on the street is there are egos behind the scenes that are butting heads and is causing all this to happen. If that's the case, just be open about it. Like, let us know so and so did this that we don't agree with or something. Like, I don't know. It's just like if you don't let us know the driving force, it just makes you look bad. It makes the USA Pickleball look bad. There's no sugarcoating. Like, as of right now, the facts and the information that has been put out there, it just makes USA Pickleball look petty. And yeah, you just need somebody, like, if there's some details that you have that aren't good, like that is going to make somebody look bad, I mean, you just got to get it out there. Otherwise, it's going to make your organization look really bad. And that's currently where we're at, I think.
I agree. Get it together, USA Pickleball. Or another organization is going to come in and do it. So I'm serious.
Yeah.
It will happen. But
Well, that's another thing I keep hearing is like USA Pickleball is the governing body of pickleball, but so many people say, well, says who? Because there's this amount of members, but there's this amount of people that play pickleball. The amount of people that play pickleball is way bigger than the amount of USA Pickleball members. So did they just say they're the governing body and people are accepting it? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either. But I don't know that we will know until they have somebody be the face and the voice of it. And you know what? And I don't mean to keep belaboring this, Webby, and dragging this on, but I got to be part of the production crew at Tournament of Champions. Boxcar Productions hired me to come in. And I've worked for some smaller organizations like directly with Simone or with Martina Coakley. And Simone and Martina took great care of us anytime we live streamed their tournaments. So I don't want this to reflect on them because they were awesome. I'm talking about bigger organizations. And out of the big organizations that I've been part of the production crew with, USA Pickleball has been by far the most supportive and the easiest to work with when it comes to the live stream production. And I think that they do a great job with that. There's a lot of great things that USA Pickleball does, right? But what's the saying? A speck of shit ruins a bowl of ice cream. This could be that one thing that they're not going to come out and be transparent about that's going to ruin it for them. And that's my fear, is that if they're not going to address these couple small things that people are publicly crazy about, they're going to lose all credibility. And somebody else is going to come in to fill that void of a governing body because the people want it and the people are not happy right now with a couple decisions from USA Pickleball.
Yeah. And like I said before, I have been a very proud ambassador for USA Pickleball. It was USAPA at the time that I became an ambassador, but there's a lot of very, very great people involved with that organization. The organization has done some great things, but just in recent history, there's been a lot of decisions made that people don't understand, and the transparency issue is a real thing. That's a big problem, and if they don't address it soon, things are not going to get any better.
I agree. Great job, Webby. That must have been, a fun podcast to kind of drop little things and let Wes and Steve, who are very good at, giving their ideas, kind of run with it. So that was good. That was really good. And I hope all you guys out there appreciated that as well.
Yeah, very fun episode. A difficult episode for me. Like, to be honest, I was very nervous about doing this episode to begin with, but I think it was a good one to do. I think it was necessary to do. And if you guys like when we do these topical episodes, I know that's not typically how we've done things in the past. I know we do that on Dinking Around. We'll talk about whatever's on our mind, but for the main podcast here, we don't typically do that. If you like it, let us know. We'll do more of that in the future.
That's right. I hope to do more of these because I like them. I like getting into discussions and I like just kind of letting the dialogue flow and things like that. So as Webby said, let us know because I would like to be able to do more of these as well. And Webby, is there anything else we want to be able to talk about tonight?
No, I think that's it for tonight. Great episode. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.